How many times have you whispered to yourself, "I failed again. I keep failing. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I'll never be enough"? How many times have you carried the weight of shame on your shoulders, replaying every misstep in your mind until it seemed like proof that you're broken? And how many times have you believed this story so deeply that it became your identity? I am a failure. I am incapable. I am not worthy. But pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, is that really the truth? Are you truly failing? Or is something else happening beneath the surface, something more mysterious, something harder to see? Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human psyche, once suggested that what we call failure is rarely failure at all. Instead, it is a secret performance staged by the unconscious mind. A drama playing behind the curtain where hidden parts of us pull the strings of our choices. On the stage of our lives, we see ourselves stumble. But behind the scenes, there are old wounds, fears, and forgotten memories directing the play. Think about it. How many times have you had the opportunity right in front of you, yet you hesitated until it slipped away? How many times did you start something with fire in your heart, only to abandon it halfway, telling yourself it wasn't worth it? How many times did you meet someone who could have loved you, but you pushed them away before they could hurt you? This is not random. It is not weakness. It is not proof that you are broken. It is self-sabotage, and self-sabotage has roots that go deeper than most of us ever imagine. Because here's the unsettling truth. The parts of you that sabotage are not trying to ruin your life. They are trying to protect you. They protect you in the only way they know, through fear, avoidance, and retreat. They protect like a frightened animal, snapping before it gets hurt. They protect by pulling you back into what is familiar, even if that familiarity is suffocating. Because to grow is painful. To change is terrifying. To shine is to risk envy and rejection. And what is most shocking is this. The ones holding you back are not other people. They are not your parents, not your boss, not society. They are you. They are fragments of yourself. Voices inside that were born in moments of rejection, humiliation, or betrayal. Think of the child who spoke up too loudly in class and was laughed at. Think of the teenager who dared to dream big but was told they were foolish. Think of the adult who gave their heart and was abandoned. Every wound leaves behind an echo, and those echoes live on inside us, whispering warnings. Don't try, don't hope, don't step out. You'll only get hurt again. So we obey. We procrastinate. We stay small. We retreat. Not because we are lazy, but because part of us believes survival depends on it. Jung believed the mind is like a council, a gathering of many different parts. Some parts want growth, freedom, expansion. Others want safety, control, protection. And when those parts clash, it is not discipline that wins. It is fear. Because fear always speaks louder. This is why so many people feel trapped in invisible chains. Just when they are about to rise, something inside pulls them down. Just when they are about to love, a whisper of doubt poisons the connection. Just when they are about to succeed, they sabotage themselves in ways they barely understand. But if we want to move forward, we must shift our perspective. Self-sabotage is not proof of weakness. It is not a flaw in your character. It is a message, a signal from the depths of the psyche saying, "I am afraid. I am trying to keep you safe. Please, listen to me." The problem is, most of us don't listen. We silence it with shame. We bury it under discipline. We tell ourselves, "I just need to try harder. I need to crush this part of me." But crushing the shadow never works. What you resist persists, and the harder you push against it, the harder it pushes back. What Jung teaches us is this: instead of ignoring or fighting the saboteur within, we must learn to speak with it. We must treat it not as a monster to be destroyed, but as a wounded child to be comforted. Think of it. If a child hides under the bed because they are afraid of the dark, would you scream at them? Would you punish them for being afraid? Of course not. You would sit with them. You would hold them. You would say, "I am here. You are safe." Let's face this together. Your saboteur deserves the same compassion. It is terrified, and in its terror, it creates chaos. But if you listen, if you sit with it, if you acknowledge its fear, it begins to soften. And in that softening, something extraordinary happens. You begin to reclaim the power you once lost. This, then, is the doorway. The doorway to the deeper work. In the next part of this journey, we will step into Jung's concept of the shadow, the hidden realm where the saboteur lives. It is not just a poetic metaphor, but a real psychological landscape filled with memories, fears, and desires we have buried. And stay with me, because in the videos that follow, we will go even further, exploring not only how to face the shadow, but how to transform it into strength. How to walk into the darkness and come out carrying light. To truly understand why we sabotage ourselves, we must step into the place Carl Jung called the shadow. And let me be clear, the shadow is not a monster lurking outside of you. It is not an external enemy waiting to attack. The shadow lives within. It is the hidden side of your soul, the storage room of everything you once rejected, suppressed, or buried because you thought it was unacceptable. Think back to childhood. Maybe you cried too loudly and someone scolded you, saying, "Stop being dramatic." Maybe you expressed anger and were punished, told you were bad. Maybe you dared to share a dream and someone laughed, calling you foolish. In those moments, you learned a painful lesson. This part of me is not safe. This part of me is not lovable. So you pushed it down. You hid it away. But what is hidden never disappears. It goes underground. It becomes the shadow. The shadow is built from shame, fear, rage, envy, and even desires that once felt too dangerous to show, and though you push them into darkness, they do not stay silent. They whisper from beneath. They reach out through your habits, your choices, your emotions. They sabotage you, not because they want your destruction, but because they are trying, clumsily, desperately, to keep you safe. Think of it this way: every time you procrastinate, every time you destroy your own progress, every time you retreat from love or ruin an opportunity at the very edge of success. What if this is not laziness or stupidity, but a part of you saying, if you succeed, you will be seen. If you are seen, you will be judged. And judgment feels like death. The shadow does not distinguish between childhood rejection and adult challenges. It only knows the pain it once felt, and it fights to protect you from ever feeling it again. This is why the shadow always shows up at the threshold of growth. Just when you are about to step into the light, it pulls you back. Just when you are about to open your heart, it whispers memories of betrayal. Just when you are about to claim your voice, it drowns you in doubt. And so, you remain small. Not because you lack potential, but because a hidden part of you believes smallness is the only way to survive. But here is the paradox Jung wanted us to understand. The shadow is not only where our wounds live, it is also where our power hides. The same fire that once burned us is the fire that, when harnessed, can illuminate our path. Inside, the shadow lie not only scars and fears, but also creativity, passion, instinct, and vitality, all buried alongside the pain. To reject the shadow is to reject half of yourself. To embrace it is to reclaim the strength you once abandoned. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." That is the work. To bring awareness to what we would rather not see. To turn toward the fear instead of away from it. To listen to the saboteur not as a demon to be silenced, but as a frightened child to be held. Imagine sitting in a dark room. A child hides under the bed, trembling, convinced that monsters are waiting in the corners. If you shout at the child, if you punish them for being afraid, they will only sink deeper into terror. But if you sit down beside them, speak gently and say, "I'm here. You're safe. Let's face this together," something changes. Slowly, the child emerges. Slowly, the fear begins to dissolve. This is what it means to confront the shadow. It is not about suppression or eradication. It is about dialogue. When you listen instead of fight, when you bring compassion instead of judgment, the shadow no longer needs to sabotage you. It begins to trust you. And as trust grows, it transforms. Not from enemy to friend overnight, but from saboteur to reluctant ally. So self-sabotage is not the end. It is the beginning of a conversation. Each time you catch yourself derailing your own progress, you can pause and ask, what part of me is afraid right now? What is it trying to protect me from? What memory is it still carrying? These questions are not abstract. They are doors. Doors that open into deeper self-knowledge and deeper freedom. And here, something extraordinary becomes possible. The act of reclaiming what was lost. Because within your shadow are not just fears to overcome, but gifts to recover. Many artists, for example, only discover their rawest creativity by facing the parts of themselves they once rejected. Many leaders only find their true voice by confronting the wounds that once silenced them. Many lovers only open to intimacy by turning toward the fear of abandonment rather than running from it. The shadow is paradoxical in this way. It hides both poison and medicine. What once hurt you can, if faced, become the very strength that heals you. And this brings us to the threshold of the next step. How do we take these insights and bring them into daily practice? How do we move from awareness to transformation? How do we not only listen to the shadow, but integrate it so that the same fear that once held us back can become the force that carries us forward? Stay with me, because in the final part of this journey, we will explore exactly that, the art of integration. The path of making peace with the saboteur inside and the possibility of living no longer as divided beings, but as whole. And in the upcoming videos, we will travel even deeper into Jung's wisdom and beyond, discovering how ancient psychology can guide us to freedom, authenticity, and healing. When we finally realize that self-sabotage is not the proof of our weakness, but the language of our shadow, the question becomes, what next? What do we do with this knowledge? Awareness is the first step, but awareness alone is not enough. To transform, we must learn the art of integration. Integration means reconciliation. It means walking back to the places inside of us that we abandoned and saying, I will no longer exile you. I will no longer silence you. You belong with me. It is not about erasing fear or pretending wounds don't exist. It is about carrying them with awareness and letting them evolve into allies. Listening instead of fighting. The first step in integration is listening. Whenever you catch yourself sabotaging your own progress, procrastinating, avoiding, numbing yourself, pause and listen. Ask, what part of me is afraid right now? Instead of shouting at yourself, instead of pushing harder, sit down with your own fear as you would with a trembling child. Think of how revolutionary this is. The culture around us constantly screams, push harder, hustle more, crush your weakness. But Jung reminds us that what you resist persists. You cannot heal by force. You can only heal by relationship. And so, integration begins not with dominance, but with dialogue. The power of gentle questions. Once you begin listening, you can ask gentle questions. What memory are you carrying? When was the first time you felt this fear? What are you trying to protect me from? These questions open doors. And what often walks through those doors are not monsters, but younger versions of yourself. Scenes from childhood, from adolescence, from years where you learned that certain parts of you were not safe to show. The procrastination of today may be the echo of a time when failure brought humiliation. The fear of love may be the echo of when love was withdrawn. Integration is not about analyzing endlessly, but about reuniting with these exiled parts, about letting them know, I see you, I hear you, you are not alone anymore. Compassion as medicine. Self-compassion is the medicine of integration. Not the shallow comfort of indulgence, but the deep recognition that the shadow does not need punishment, it needs presence. Imagine someone who has sabotaged every opportunity for love. Each time intimacy grows, they panic, they push the other away. On the surface, it looks like irresponsibility. But when they turn inward, they find a younger self, terrified of being abandoned again. If in that moment they can say, I know you are afraid, but I am here now. I will not leave you. Something changes. Slowly, what once was fear begins to transform into the ability to stay, to trust, to love. Or consider someone who sabotages success. Every time their career begins to rise, they procrastinate until everything collapses. Beneath the surface, the shadow carries an old wound. Success once led to envy. Envy once led to attack. And so now, success feels unsafe. By facing that shadow, by saying, I understand why you're afraid, but we can handle it now, the person begins to allow success without sabotage. Integration in daily life. But integration cannot remain a theory. It must be lived. That means bringing the shadow with you into daily life, not waiting for the day you feel fearless. If you fear rejection, still speak. If you fear failure, still try. If you fear abandonment, still love. But do so while holding the hand of the part of you that trembles. Integration is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of courage alongside fear. It is learning to live as a whole being, carrying both the light and the dark. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of becoming whole. Wholeness is not perfection. It is not becoming endlessly positive. Wholeness means you no longer reject half of yourself. You live with both sides, the bright and the shadow, together. The hidden gifts of the shadow. And here lies another truth. Within the shadow are not only wounds, but gifts. Many of the traits we repress are not bad at all. They are simply powerful and therefore dangerous in the wrong context. Anger, for example, when repressed becomes sabotage, but when integrated, anger becomes strength, boundaries, clarity. Desire, when repressed, becomes shame, but when integrated, it becomes vitality, creativity, passion. Think of the countless artists, writers, leaders who found their voice not by escaping their shadow, but by facing it. Their creativity was born from wounds. Their compassion was born from suffering. Their strength was born from weakness. This is the paradox of integration. The shadow you fear may hold the very treasure you are seeking. Questions for reflection. So I ask you now, what part of you have you been running from? What voice inside have you been silencing? What would happen if you sat with it, listened to it, loved it? These are not easy questions. They take courage, but they are the doorway to freedom, the path forward. And so, integration is the path, not to a life without struggle, but to a life where struggle becomes meaningful, where even your fear has a place, where even your sabotage becomes a teacher, where you no longer live divided, but whole. This is how self-sabotage becomes becomes transformation. This is how the saboteur becomes an ally. Closing and invitation. So if you find yourself caught in cycles of self-sabotage, remember, you are not broken. You are not a failure. You are encountering your shadow. You are meeting the parts of you that were once abandoned, but now wait for your return. And when you return, when you listen, when you embrace them, you will discover that the deepest darkness carries the brightest seed of light. And this is not the end. It is the beginning. In the videos to come, we will go further into Jung's wisdom and beyond Jung into the teachings of other thinkers, mystics, and philosophers who knew the secret of transformation. Each step will take us closer to becoming who we truly are. But before we leave, I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed yourself sabotaging your own life just when things were about to get better? What do you think that hidden part of you was afraid of? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your story may be the light someone else needs right now. And if this message has resonated with you, consider subscribing to this channel, not as a favor to me, but as a gift to yourself, for the journey we are walking together, for the insights that will continue to guide you. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this journey. May you be healthy. May you be whole. May you be free, and may you find, in the heart of your own shadow, the golden light that has always been waiting for you. I will see you in the next video, where more secrets of healing and inner wisdom are waiting to be uncovered.